Hello everyone, this is Wall, and today I am bringing back an old series called Director's Commentary. It's been a while, I know, but I've put out a couple of cinematics recently, and I wanted to talk about some of them. So today we're talking about Brave, a short cinematic I made a couple of months ago. I want to go over the idea, the concepts, the vision, the music, the scenes, and some of the symbolism about those scenes, and finish it off with some closing thoughts. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. Quick note: this is a half scripted video, so a couple of uhs and ahs there, but I hope that's okay. Anyway, the idea became a thing somewhere in late 2017, and then early 2018. When I finished the third Spire cinematic, that funnily enough also used the Pathfinder soundtrack that you hear in the Brave cinematic. And I always thought that part of the song that I use in Brave, when I first started listening to it, it sounded so cool and heroic. And so in a very natural way, ideas and concepts for it started flowing. The first one being the Titan versus the Hunter one, and then the second one being the Warlocks meditating, and then I had ideas for the Titan paying respects to Saint 14, and then finally I had the two Arcstriders training, or sparring, I guess. And I had a really good idea of what the first 20 to 25 seconds were going to look like, before a very, very long time, that was kind of it. The idea just stayed what it was, an idea. I didn't have any actors. The Saint 14 cinematic had to be cut out because I didn't know anyone who had gotten that far into the quest, and so basically in terms of logistics, this was never going to happen. So I put it aside, focused on other things such as the funny Iron Banner moments and Unleash, which released around Forsaken, I think. And so fast forward to the beginning of 2019. I'm on PC, my equipment is somewhat in check, and I've got a couple of people that can help me with that type of stuff now. And so we do some test stuff and try to shoot the first scene, and surprisingly, it looks really good. And so in February, we shoot most of the scenes that I had written back in 2018, except for the Saint 14 one. And I convinced Tora to get to that part of the quest because no one really had it, but eventually he got to that part. I think it was in April, a month before the actual cinematic came out. Anyway, everything was looking up until I realized that I only had 22 seconds of cinematic footage for a 1-minute video. I had to find a way to fill those remaining seconds, and went back to the drawing board. And see, sometimes that is a very scary thing, because in my case, I like to stay true to what I was thinking back then, but that was holding me back in this case. So I said to myself, well, what are the things we can do in this version of D2 that we couldn't do in 2018 pre-Forsaken? And the answer was, a lot. For one, the Dreaming City is a new destination that we never have seen before, right? And so I went along with that idea and revolved that scene around a fire team attempting the raid. Nice and simple, With the help of Prezi and Tora, we made that scene happen. The next scene was a very natural reaction to what I was feeling when listening to that soundtrack. Because in that part of the soundtrack, the Guardian theme plays in the background, right? And so that was enough for me to come up with some of the hero shots that we see in the cinematic. We see the classes popping their supers, and in their respective subclasses as well. And it made sense to me at the time. It looked cool. It was awesome. But one thing I do have to note, though, is how everything after the DC scene started to click and just came together. Somehow, I had it in my mind to just follow the Titan who thunder crashes on Equinox. He flies away from Equinox to the fortress just to find out that there's a striker right there waiting for him. And the cool thing about that scene in particular, the ending scene, is that the music also kind of complements that whole mood and feeling. That last part of the soundtrack is very get ready for the next fight, threat kind of, and I thought it would look really cool in the game. I think it still does. But yeah, that's basically all the scenes brought together, and I do want to talk about some of the underlying narratives and motives about those scenes, exclusively the first 4 ones. So, I call this cinematic brave to show what Guardians do that really make them brave to me. Oftentimes, we see the heroes do their thing, save the day, assure their fans everything's going to be alright, and then they just move on to the next time of calamity. And people would say that is brave. It is, to fight an unknown force without fear, because you know what could happen if you don't. That is bravery, but I kind of wanted to go in a different direction with that concept. Aside from saving the world, what else do Guardians do that make them brave? And personally, I find bravery in training, sparring, getting better. Because why else do we train as Guardians? We practice in the Crucible to get better at what we do, which is pushing back the darkness and keeping the last city safe. By training, you devote yourself to be a better you than you were yesterday. And that experience will only grow further and further, and you'll be better for it. It's about accepting the fact that there is work to do no matter how confident you are. It's about the self-discipline to be open to feedback. And that is the reason why I wanted to emphasize on that in the beginning with the Hunter and Titan and the 2 Arcstriders. They're not like fighting each other to the death or whatever. They're just training, sparring, getting better. And another way I quantify bravery is through having the ability to look back at what the people who came before you have done for your society. The ability to make that instant decision to carry that torch and to fight their fight. That's something I really admire and respect, and that's what I wanted to portray with the Saint 14 scene. Though it's short, I think it encapsulates a lot of what it means to be a Titan. Aside from, punching things, of course, Saint 14 is a legendary character in the Destiny universe. From pushing back the Fallen on countless attacks on the city and beyond, he's well respected amongst all Titan orders. Knowing this, the Titan we follow in the scene pays respects in the only way he knows how. It's both inspiring and sad, but also hopeful and brave. By the way, the Titan was played by Tora, actor, stuntman, hit him up. For the Io scene, I knew I had to showcase warlocks on their pilgrimage to the crater. The lore tells us that this moon is a very special place for warlocks because Io is the last place the traveler touched before it came to Mars and then Earth. So warlocks go on a pilgrimage there to meditate and center themselves, and so I tried to emulate this to the best of my ability to really bring that piece of lore to life. The Dreaming City scene is literally an accumulation of all those things. Like I said before, this is about fighting an unknown force without fear, because that's what Guardians do, right? We have raided the vault, stormed multiple dimensions across time and space to defeat its gods and rulers. All of that because we know what happens if we don't do that. And that is what I call true bravery. So yeah, that kind of covers the whole symbolism thing. Closing thoughts, I think Brave was a lot of fun to work on, especially when the ball started rolling again this year. It was really nice to come up with ideas, solving problems for scenes, the blocking and everything. I think it was a lot of fun to figure all that out, and I had a lot of fun working on it. So yeah, that's all I have on the Brave Cinematic. I want to give another big thank you to my friends Leolin, Tora, and Prezi for helping me make this thing a reality. I always say this to my actors or anyone who helps me out. If it's not for you guys, like, all I would have are just ideas, and that's it. That's what they would be for eternity. Just concepts, ideas. It's because of you guys that you actually see these things in action. It's because of you guys that I get to make stuff like this. So I'm always saying thank you. I'm always grateful for all the opportunities that I have and all that stuff. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. But that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I think I'll be doing one for Vision 81 very soon. I don't know when exactly, but you can expect one sometime this summer. But yeah, I've been Wall, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.